Can someone confirm if you could see my screen? Okay, yeah, thanks for confirming. Right. So now let me pull up the screen, pull up the slide basically, and let's talk about some aspects of it. So we'll be understanding what is cloud computing, benefits between on-premise and on the cloud. What is Microsoft Azure? Because we have gathered here to learn Azure, right? So what is that actually? And then a little difference between SSIS and then ADF, right? And also we'll talk about, data engineering as a subject, and then where do we stand basically, right? My mouse, yeah. So let's understand what is cloud computing. And we will also see the difference between on-premise and on the cloud, right? Say, if you are able to connect to any server, guys, server in very common sense, right? Don't try to complicate the terminology here or the concepts here. Very, very simple, right? So we sit at home and then we can connect to the servers, right? And if you are able to connect to different servers, if you are able to connect to the storage that the servers comes with, and let's say if you are able to, connect to the databases that are, available across the world, and if you are able to, download something from the servers and then install it on your systems, and then many more, right? So if you are able to have that communication, could be any aspect of communication, if you are able to do that even without internet, then it is called as on-premise, guys. Even without internet, then it is considered as on-premise. How we can do, without internet? See, say if we are connected to the LAN, say we are in one organization, say if we are connected to the LAN, LAN doesn't need internet, right? So it creates an intranet for us, basically. Intranet network it creates, right? So via intranet, we can basically have the communication with different systems, different servers, storages, and then so on. And then you can perform the activities. Now say if you are able to perform them only via internet, right? So I call it as over the internet. Then it is considered as cloud computing. Right? Then it is considered as cloud computing, basically, right? Okay. So yes, guys, that's a typical difference, right? So the cloud platforms you can access only via internet, right? But the on-premise platforms can be connected even without internet, given we are on intranet. Okay, or you can, in simple terms, you can understand it such a way. We are connected to the same LAN, given we are in the single organization. Now let's try to deep dive and then understand the difference between on-premise and on the cloud. Right, see here. On-premise and on the cloud. Guys, I'll just walk you through this via a real life scenario, right? Not by any textbook definition, right? Textbook definitions you can Google and then get also, right? You need not to come, people like me basically, and then so on, basically, right? Right. So first, let's talk about on-premise. Guys, questionnaires, if you have any questionnaires, please park them for a few minutes. Let me first finish the demo, and then I'll try to address the questions at the end. Okay, hope it is clear, right? If you have any difficulties hearing my voice or looking at my screen, guys, I have very good network. Others are able to view it. Others are able to hear me clear and crisp. It could be the issue from your side. Please drop and connect back. Okay, that should fix the issue, right? So sorry for that. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the differences between on-premise and then the cloud, right? See, let's take an example, right? Say we are 10 people. See, I'm talking in aspect like we are freelancers, okay? Say we are 10 people, and then say we know each other and we have good skill set, and we thought of developing a product, developing a software product and marketize it in the industry and then gain revenue out of it. Let's say if that is our roadmap. And we have very clear roadmap on what to develop, how to develop for the next 6 months. Right? Given this information, what is the first thing we need to have to develop a project, guys? What is the first thing we need to have to develop a project? We need to have the server. Without server, you cannot run your code, right? So server is pretty much needed. Infrastructure, so that means first you need to understand what kind of server you wanted to have. That means with respect to the hardware, right? And you need to recruit employees because server have to run 24/7, right? And it should have some, AC, separate cabin, all that stuff, or separate room at least. Might not be cabin, separate room, right? So all that maintenance needs to be done even before you work on the project. But the catch here is to purchase the server, we need to have money, right? We need to have money. Let's say we raised 10 lakh rupees to purchase the hardware, recruit some employees, and then maintain it 24/7 for next 6 months. Now say we raised 10 lakh rupees and say we have purchased the servers, and then say for the next 6 months we have developed the product. Assume 6 months has been completed. Now we have the product. Now when we try to marketize, rather than getting the positive feedback, say we got negative feedback on our product. Guys, I'm trying to explain you the worst case scenarios so that you can understand it so easily. Say the product is a failure. We declare the product is a failure. So now what will happen to the capital we have raised? The 10 lakh rupees capital we have raised? It is waste of money, right? Maybe if you resell the hardware in the second-hand market, you might recover 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs, not more than that. So it's a straight 8 lakh rupees waste. Because why? Because, right, to work on any project, first you need to have the infrastructure. That is something which we have to do if it is on-premise, guys. On-premise works in such a way. Upfront cost is high. That's why I say upfront cost, because you have to first have 10 lakh rupees in your hand to start working on the project, right? Let's take the same context to the cloud, pay as you go, right? See, guys, cloud works on pay as you go, right? And one more point here is, here you don't need any investment. You need not to have 10 lakh rupees right the day that you plan to start your project. No, even with 0 rupees, you can create an account on the platform and then you can start working on the project. And the major benefit with the cloud is we will pay only for the consumption that we do. And only for the consumption that we do. Basically, let's say if you utilize only 1 hour in a given day, we will pay only for the duration. Right? We will pay only for the duration, not for the entire 24/7, 365 days. Say for the next 6 months, say we have worked on, let's say 2 hours per day, right? And say, 60 hours per month. We will pay only for 60 hours, guys, not for the entire 1 month. Say we worked on, for the next 6 months, and the cost might not be more than 2 or 3 lakhs. It should be less than 3 lakhs is what I believe. Say you paid 3 lakh rupees as a charges to Microsoft Azure in this case. And again, take the same scenario, the product is a flop. Rather than getting positive feedback, say we get negative feedback, right? So we declare the product is a flop. So how much cost we are going to lose here? We are going to lose just 3 lakh rupees. When you compare with 8 lakh rupees in the previous case, when I say just, you have to compare with our on-premise case. Because in on-premise case, we have lost 8 lakh rupees. But here we have lost just 3 lakh rupees, right? So that's the major difference that we have between being on-premise and in the cloud, right? And the second point that I have here is no automatic updates in place. And then upgrading is not flexible, upgrading is flexible. See guys, you take any application, any service, any software, right? We do get updates. Right, you take WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp is the most used application in anyone's mobile, or take Instagram or any other social media application, right? We do get updates, right? See, let me give you a real life example, right? Better real life example. See, we all use online banking, right? Like HDFC, SBI, blah, 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 and then so on, right? Quarterly once or half-yearly once, we get a message from our banker saying that, dear customer, from this time to this time, our services will be down. Mostly they will take it down in the midnight, maybe from 2 a.m. till 4 a.m., something like that, right? So what will happen during the time, or what do they do during that time? Why they have to take their service down, right? What they do, they update their services, they upgrade it. They may be, rolling out new features, or fixing the patches, or fixing the bugs, right? Or security updates. It could be anything basically. But the point here is on-premise systems needs downtime, right? It needs downtime basically. Okay, system have to be taken down and roll out the updates, upgrades, bug fixes, and bring the system up, right? But whereas on the cloud applications also will get updated, guys. It will get updated, but there is no downtime that is needed, because say if you are accessing an application, and say if the owner of the application wants to roll out the updates, they will roll out the updates behind the screens. The moment you close and open the application, you will see the latest application on the screen. No downtime is needed. Right? So that's a major benefit that we have here. Right. And the last one on the list is data cannot be accessed remotely, and data can be accessed. See guys, we all work from home, right? We sit at our home and then we access our organization servers and then so on basically, right? So now the point is, how do we connect to our organization servers, right? Via VPN, right? Virtual private network. But VPNs comes with a lot of restrictions, right? Say that, some VPNs will not work on some IP addresses, and, and then so on basically. But if you have data on the cloud, you might not see such restrictions. You sit anywhere in the world, any device that is connected to the internet, that could be your mobile, tablet, laptop, desktop, or server, could be anything. You will be able to access the data. But with on-premise, you have to use your laptop, or you need to set up your VPN in the system that you wanted to connect. I guess that's the, of course, there are many more differences. Let's not, get into that subject basically, right? So, right. So that's the major difference between cloud and on-premise, right? So let's move on. So the next slide, guys. Now let's understand Microsoft Azure. See, we all gathered here to learn Azure Data Engineering. Before we talk about data engineering, let's talk about what is Microsoft Azure first of all. Because that's the platform where we learn or do our data engineering subject, right? So see, Microsoft Azure is formerly known as, earlier it was known as Windows Azure, and later they renamed as Microsoft Azure. Right now the question is, boss, what is Microsoft Azure? Right? We all know Microsoft, but what is that? See guys, Microsoft Azure is a public cloud computing platform. Public cloud, that means people like you and me can create an account on the platform, and then we can start using the platform with no restrictions, guys. Right away, you and me can create an account, of course, with a valid details. That's a difference. So you need to have valid details, and we can create the account. We can start working on the project. It will hardly take 2 minutes. That's all. In the matter of 2 minutes, you can create the account, start working on the project. You can see, by the way, it supports 200 plus services. 200 plus services, right? I'll talk about it shortly. But the point here is, you can start working on the project. Either the project can be a brand new project, or let's say if you have a project that is working on-premise from last 5 years, you can as well migrate that to the public cloud. That means you can migrate your existing application, or you can start working on the brand new project as well. Right? So that's the kind of environment you have here. Right? And of course, it provides 200 plus services that includes wide range of services. Pretty wide range of services. Right? We'll talk about some of the services shortly. Right. So now let's talk about a service called Azure Data Factory. In short, we call it as ADF. Right? ADF basically, right? Right. See, ADF has become general available in the year 2015. It's been 10 years, right? But the version that they have released in 2015 was very, very, very basic. Very basic. Okay, but anyway, right? Just to keep it straightforward, so it have released in 2015, right? See, now let's understand what is ADF. Okay, boss, it released in 2015, that's fine, but tell me what is ADF, right? See, guys, ADF is a cloud-based ETL, ETL, right? ETL. What is ETL stands for? E stands for extract, T stands for transform, L stands for load. Extract, transform, and then load. See, let me help you understand with a very generic scenario. I won't go technical in the first scenario. Let me give you a very generic definition. See, guys, let's say you have a book in a rack. See, we'll place the book in a rack, right? Very generic context. So if you wanted to read the book, what you will do? You will first pick the book from the rack. That is considered as extract, right? You pick a book from the rack. That is called as extract. What you do after picking up? Maybe you'll open the book, flip through the pages, read it. That is considered as transformation. T stands for transform. That means you have opened the book, flipping through the pages and then reading it. And load. After reading it, what you will do? You will not forever keep it with you, na? Keep it in your hands, I mean to say. Right? We'll place the book back, either in the same slot or maybe in a different place. That is considered as load. Extract means pick the book. Transform is read it. Load means place it back. Generic definition, right? Now let me explain you ETL with a example that is based on data, right? Because we are here for data engineering. Let's also take this example with respect to the data, right? See, say if you have data in a CSV file, or say if you have data in an Excel file or TXT file, very generic example goes, right? TXT, CSV, Excel, maybe most of us know them basically, right? Say if you have to read the data from those files, we can use Azure Data Factory to read the data from those files. That is considered as extract. Reading the data from the files is considered as extract. And transform it, right? And then transform. Transform means remove the column or add new columns, sort the data, filter the data, pivot it, unpivot it, load the data into multiple systems based on some conditions, many more, right? These are considered as transformations. And then load, right? So once you transform the data, we will load. Load in the sense we will place it in a different location, right? So that's considered as load. Okay, so that's all about ETL for us, right? See, I gave you the sources as Excel, CSV, TXT, those three examples I've given just to simplify the context. So likewise, ADF supports 100 plus sources, and it supports 100 plus sources basically. Okay. So say, just to, if I have to give you some more information there. So if you have data in any SQL server, Oracle server, Amazon server, Google server, Snowflake server, or Salesforce, IBM, whatnot. Likewise, it supports 100 plus sources. We can develop a complex ETL process, so wherein we can, visualize the way data is flowing from step number 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and then so on. Right? See, guys, as a data engineer, majorly we deal with ETL, right? ETL. So how do you perform ETL? Via a service called Data Factory. Azure Data Factory is a exclusive ETL service that we have on Azure. See, I told you 200 services, right? See, if I have to go back to my previous slide, I said Azure supports 200 plus services. Out of that, Azure Data Factory is one service for us. Likewise, there are other 199 plus services, right? Anyway, I'll just brief you shortly. Now let's talk about the difference between SSIS and ADF. See guys, ADF have started in 2015. We have just learned, but it was very basic version. But actually people have started using from 2019, 2020, right? Say from last 6 years. But how we are solving these business problems prior to ADF? So we have tools like SSIS, guys. SSIS is there in the market from almost 20 years. 20 years, guys. Right? SSIS stands for SQL Server Integration Services. Of course, why I have brought in the difference between SSIS versus ADF is Both of them are from Microsoft. Guys, if you have anyone who have knowledge on SSIS, that means you know 40% of Azure Data Factory by default. Because ADF has been developed on top of SSIS only. If you know SSIS, 40% of ADF you know. It is just that you have to get used with the environment, that's all. Right. But SSIS is an on-premise thing, you have to first purchase the license to work on it. But ADF, like I've said, it is pay as you go. So you can, simply use that. I mean, of course, when I say simply, you have to, uh, create the account and then start, right? So both, and by the way, SSIS can be administered via SSMS, but ADF can be accessed via Azure portal. And it is accessed via Azure portal basically, right? So that's something we can go by. And ADF and SSIS have its own scheduling environment. In the sense, see, generally we schedule our ETLs, right? We schedule our ETLs in such a way, boss, run it at this particular, time, right? Or execute at this particular time, right? So that is considered as, schedule. Okay. So guys, that's, all about I have, on this one basically. Right. So now let me move on and then help you understand what are all the services that we are going to cover during our curriculum, right? And also I'll just walk you through, the portal basically, right? How practically we go by and then, right. See guys, the services that I'm going to note down here are from Azure itself. So I'm not going to use the term Azure, again and again, but let me put it here, right? So SQL Server, SQL Database, and Data Factory. And then, we'll be covering Databricks. In Databricks, we'll be talking about Python, PySpark, Cluster, Hadoop, and there are other more concepts we'll be learning. And logic apps, storage account, very important. In storage account, I'll be walking you through data lake generation, right? And, maybe after that, we'll talk about Synapse. And we'll talk about AI assistance, which is in, Databricks basically, and cost management. And we'll talk about GitHub. GitHub is out of Azure, guys, but still we'll see how we can integrate that into Data Factory. And we'll talk about Azure Data Studio, Storage Explorer. And, in the last, we will talk about Microsoft Fabric. It is not Azure platform, but this is out of Azure, but we'll talk about Fabric as. I'll allocate 2 or 3 sessions, for Microsoft, right? Yes. Other than that, we will also have a very detailed end-to-end project for detailed session. So here we will try to understand different things, right? Different things, saying that, see, we are going to learn so many different services, right? But as a person, do you really need to learn this many services? So that's something we'll raise by ourselves. We'll try to understand why we have to learn or we have learned this many different services. That's one thing. The second point is, I'll help you understand how we get the data in our organization, how we break that, and what is the hierarchy, how we get it, how my manager gets that, and how as a team leader I get it, and how my team gets it. So that's something I'll explain you. And also how do we work on that items and how we deliver it to the users and what are the challenges that we might see, right? That something is also discussed. And the third point is, as a part of project, right? We also, of course, we are going to have a project. So wherein I have a very nice data set, guys. I will explain you end to end about the data set. Why the data set? Why not something else? What is the purpose of it? How about the data that we have? What is the column differences? How you can break that up? And what services you can use? So like I've said, you will be learning 12 different services, 12 to 13 different services. What combination of services you can use? But at the end of the day, it is you who have to work on the project. But I'll give you very detailed end-to-end description about that. Okay, guys, so I hope it makes little sense, right? These are all the services that will be going by best. Right. Okay. And in Databricks, guys, yep. So we'll be walking through. I'll be walking you through PySpark, and so there I'll give you the information about Databricks from the scratch. From the scratch, guys. So you not necessarily you need to have any prior Python knowledge and then so on, because I'll be walking you through from the scratch, and we'll be using the PySpark that is needed for the data engineers. That is needed for the data, because we don't need to learn the Python which is outside of our scope, right? So we'll be learning what is needed within our scope. Okay, so that's something we would cover there basically, right? And so guys, now let me walk you through the Azure portal basically, right? I'll just walk you through so that it will be like little hands-on session as well for you on the Azure portal basically. Right? See, Azure portal can be accessed via a browser. Maybe like, Edge, Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Safari, right? You can use your favorite browser. I use Microsoft Edge, guys. Right. See, the URL to access the portal is portal.azure.com. Okay. Anyway, I have 4 different accounts on my system. What are these accounts? How we can create it? Why there are different accounts? What are the approaches that you can follow? Guys, everything we'll discuss as and when we progress. And this is just to help you understand what is that we are going to look at, right? But how you can create it, the approaches and all, and the other details I'll explain you as and when. But let me get into one of the account. Okay, so you can notice, guys, so this is how a portal looks like, right? A portal looks like this, right? One second. Okay, sure. Right, see, here you can notice, see, I've just noted down the services that we are going to learn, right? See, let me take my pen here. Oh, because I'm not the host, I can't take the pen. Oh, there is no pen here. Sure, I can do. Yeah, there is no pen anyway, so I can't do this here. I talked about SQL Server here, SQL database. Right. And by the way, there are few more. Sorry, I missed it. Resource group, and then keyboard. Sorry, guys. Right, I missed. Typing keep. Right. So these are the other 3 services that we go over. Right. So you can read some of the services here. Guys. See, I have SQL Server. I have Resource Group. I have Data Factory. Right. And of course, CL. If I click on CL, no, I could also see the other services that. But anyway, let me not complicate our first day discussion. But guys, this is how we can have the portal. This is how we can, have the services being created. How to create them, what is the process and all we'll discuss. Right? As and when we progress, we'll discuss this. But this is just, help you understand. Yes, we can have, services being created, and then we can have, uh, access it even outside of the platform also, right? So see, maybe let me showcase you how we can, typically query some data which is in my table, right? So for that, let me get into resource group and Kidsware, right? Let's see it. So I have SQL Server database and data factory here. Let me launch my SQL database just to give you some, very high level knowledge on it. See, we have to get into query editor. Just let me punch in the password. Okay, I've just punched the password. Click on OK. And now let me do select star from. See guys, of course I have multiple different tables here. Let me take any of the tables, sales LT customers. Say for example, right, sales LT customers. Select that particular thing and then click on. So you can notice, of course, you can maximize this section. You can notice the data is displaying on the screen. But guys, this is a table that is being created on Azure SQL database. Guys, notice here we are on Azure portal. See, look at the URL. So let's say if you have any confusion, you can look at here, portal.azure.com. And we are running this platform on a browser. And we need to have a live internet connection. That's the difference we talked about, right? What is the difference between on-premise and then the cloud? Cloud, you can access the services only via internet. Guys, to access your Azure portal, you need to have a live internet connection. Say if you don't have an internet connection, you can't access. It is that simple. And it is that simple. If you don't have internet connection, you can't access. But see, 4 Mbps or 3 Mbps connection is also enough. You need not to have 100 Mbps or 200 Mbps connection. But it will be little slower, not much slower also, because I worked on it, guys. I worked for many days on 3 Mbps connection when I was doing complete work from. Anyway, that was history, but yes, it just needs very little broadband or bandwidth. Let me put it the other way, bandwidth, right? With that, you'll be able to do it. I guess that's how you can have. See, of course, there are many other tables that are also available, and I've created multiple different tables. You can insert the data, play around with the data. You can query it. You can log in, log out, right? So different activities we can. Right. So similarly, you can create the services the way you wanted to have for your projects, and then we can consume the service, or we can work on the services as per the project requirements. Yes, that's how typically a portal looks like, and that's how you can access the data which is in any of the tables. Right. Yes, I think that is all I wanted to share with you on day number 1, because I don't want to make it too heavy. Right. So I'm good now. So let me open for questionnaires. Yes, please make use of the chat window. So if you have any questions, please drop them there. Oh. Guys, any questions from anyone else? I could see a question saying that differences from on-premise versus this one. I think differences we talked about. That's what even I believe. So if you have to talk about the governances, see, there are various different governance policies that are different from on-premise and on the cloud, because so like the ownership, the capital expenditure. So I discussed about that point as well. So we have something called, of course, I'm going to talk about it in our next class since you have raised this as a question. See, the major governance difference of the policy that you see here is the scalability, maintenance, the way how you access it and then deploy it. Security, right? There were many aspects of it. So wherein you see a lot of governance, policy differences between on-premise and then the cloud-based. Right? Because capital is something which every company looks at. The more you save, the better for the company. right? So I've given you with very live examples saying that if you have to develop a project, what is the first thing you need to have? You need to have the capital, right? In the example that I've given some time back, we raised 10 lakh rupees and then we have lost 8 lakh rupees because first you need to purchase the or set up the infrastructure. That includes purchasing the hardware, purchasing the licenses, recruiting some employees who should track the server 24/7 and then so that's the typical differences I could state now. But again, we are going to understand them in detail in our next class. Like the policies, the way how you create, accesses, like I've said, role-based accesses, right? How do you, tag them? How do you manage the cost, right? Many different, policies that we. Yep. Any more questions, guys? Guys, you can use chat window to post a question, yes, and I would be able to, answer them. Yes. Okay, guys, if not, since I have walked you through the Azure portal, see, in the last slide, we were trying to understand the difference between SSIS versus ADF, right? Now let me help you understand and then, or see, SSIS is out of our syllabus, guys, first of all. That's not our syllabus. But since we have some time, let me also help you or walk you through how SSIS looks like. See, the reason why I'm doing that here is, though it is out of our syllabus, let's see if any one of you are interested and wanted me to go by SSIS also later point of time, you can let me know. Personally, I'll take some time and then help you understand how you can develop some process on SSIS. Right? But anyway, for now, it is out of syllabus, but still I would like to take 2 or 3 minutes of your time to showcase you how SSIS looks like. Right? For that, you need to have Visual Studio. And let me open my solution. See guys, Microsoft Visual Studio is loading on my machine, right? It will take a minute. Okay, it is loading. Okay, so notice here guys, maybe I'll take one, simple. Of course, I have many different examples. I don't want to complicate our discussion. See here. See, earlier I explained you what is Azure Data Factory and then what is ETL, right? ETL stands for extract, transform, and then load. See here. In this particular example, okay, let it load. Okay. Anyway, we don't need that. See, in this example, what we are trying to do here is we are extracting data from a source and then extract. E stands for extract, right? And then we are loading that data into a different source. Sorry, different destination in this case. Load, extract, and then load. Right? Of course, there are ready-made transformations and then sources and destinations that are available. We can utilize them, see what are all of these and then how you can use them. No, of course SSIS is out of context, but in ADF we will, right? But this is just to give you very high level heads up on how SSIS looks like, right? Guys, I have developed this for my few candidates in my other batch. Currently I don't run any batch on SSIS because many organizations won't use SSIS. There's only very few organizations with SSIS. Right? So that's why I told you this is out of our syllabus. But still, anyone is interested, and if you come forward saying that Shiva, okay, spend at least half an hour of your time or 1 hour of your time on SSIS, just to give you gain some knowledge, I'm happy to do that. I can do it personally for, of course, in the class. Right? But anyways, right? This is how a SSIS looks like versus ADF, right? So this is the difference, guys, between on-premise and on the cloud. The reason why I get into SSIS is to help you understand practically how on-premise and in the cloud. See, the cloud is accessed via the portal.azure.com, via internet using a browser. But look at SSIS. It is something installed on my personal machine. See, guys, if it is on my personal machine, I need not to have internet. Right? That's the point we discussed in slide number 1. See, if you are able to access only via internet, that is considered as cloud. Portal.azure.com can be accessed only via internet, which is cloud. But SSIS doesn't need internet. Guys, even if I don't have my internet at home or connected to this laptop, I can still work on SSIS because it is running on my personal machine. And I could see a message here. Yeah. Comparatively, on-prem storing data is affordable. Yes, see, rather than storing data, we have many other advantages also, like maintenance, security, the connectivity, right? Many advantages. We'll talk about it, right? So that's a, of course, guys, we are going to talk about, so that's a good question. We are also going to talk about Azure basics. Some of the, basics. We don't go in depth because we don't need, to go by them and then so on. So we'll try to cover some of the basic topics. I guess, with that is all I have. Let me close in SSIS because I don't want you to, get confused with that. Right. Any questions from anyone else? Okay. Ahmad, I'm good. So unless if there are any questions from your side. Prakash or Ahmad? Okay, there's some questions, right? Tell me the difference. What is temp data and DB? See, temp data is something, of course, we are going to learn it as and when we get into SQL Server, guys, because since you raised it as a question. See, temp data,
बोला बोर्ड दे दो, क्या दे दे शिबू? बोर्ड दो हमें
See, temp data is something which is stored in the temporary database, right? So see, let's say if you query some table, which is large in nature, or let's say if you create a temporary table, see, there is a concept called temporary table or CTE or table variable, that data will store in the temporary DB. There is a DB called temp DB. Okay. So that is like our RAM. See what a RAM does on the laptop. Temporarily it loads some information or the applications into the RAM. The moment you close it, it will disappear. It's the same thing, right? Next question is, any limitations to store data on the cloud? See, guys, if you talk about limitation, I have seen in one of my colleagues' project, of course, I'm not there, they store terabytes of data. They have 60 to 100 terabytes of data on the cloud, right? So I don't see any limitations with respect to the data that you store. Even storage account, see, we talked about this one, right? So there is notepad. Yeah, see it. So we have something called storage account, right? So even here also you can store terabytes of data. I think it comes with 500 to 1000 terabytes. But there is no limit. See, once the 1000 terabytes limit is hit, you can create another storage account and then you can store. So to be precise, yes, you can store almost unlimited data. Hope this answers your both of the questions, guys. Sure, thank you. Nijam. Yeah, thank you, Nijam. Yeah, Ahmed. Yeah, so that is all from there. Any more questions, guys? Yeah. Okay. So if not, Ahmed or Prakash, do we have anyone here? Why not? Then respond. Ahmed? Um, okay, guys. Thank you for joining. I'm dropping the call. I don't see Ahmed. You there? Ahmed, you there? No? Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining.